I'm Zhemmie. Welcome to my midlife crisis. I thought that since this was my first video on my YouTube channel, which is aptly named Zemmie's Midlife Crisis, I thought it would be kind of nice to do a little intro video about myself. Who am I and why on earth a middle-aged woman was making Minecraft videos on YouTube. It's kind of a long story actually, but I thought that it might be nice to just, provide that little introduction to myself. But I kind of wanted to have a place to do that because my videos are going to focus a lot on mental health. Because let's face it, that's kind of what I've been struggling with over the last little while, and that's kind of what inspired me to make this channel. So I thought it might be nice to have a place for myself where I can do a little check-in at the beginning of each video, kind of like a calm space where I can go over, what my challenges have been for this week, and also what I'm planning to do for that video. But I wanted to make a space for that, and as you can see, hang on, I'm just gonna go back here. All right, as we can see, we are in my forever world, which is called Zemmie's Hollow. And the original intent was kind of that I was going to make a sort of magical forest kind of thing. I didn't quite feel up to tackling that off the bat, so I decided to make myself a temple. This is the Temple of the Crying Panda. You'll find out why it's called that, and don't worry, they're not sad pandas. So this is obviously not finished. I've been doing, landscaping, and I have a bunch of work to do on the areas surrounding, a lot of terraforming, some trees and things like that. But I really just sort of wanted to get started on the video stuff, so I thought I would jump in and start a new project today. So the project is actually over here in this part. Here, hang on. Let's actually go show you where this is going to be. So I actually wanted to create my little sort of temple of mental health over on this side, down by that river there. So I was planning to do some nice terracing down to the river and then maybe have kind of a little island out there with a temple in it where I could start each video off, go over what I wanted to do, and do a little mental health check-in. But I also thought it might be a nice spot for my intro. So I was thinking that it might be nice to, sort of build that as my very first video. So that's what I'm going to do in this video today. And I thought it might be fun to have you guys along for the ride. So I'm going to head over there. I'm going to get some terraforming done. I'm going to try and finish my terraces down to the water there and then get my island all set up and maybe widen out the river a little bit. So I got lots of stuff to do. So yeah, why don't you follow along with me? And since this is my first video, I'm playing a lot with various pieces of software. I'm playing a lot with how to do this and how to make the videos interesting. So come along for the ride here. All right, that was super fun. It was actually a lot of fun learning to use the replay mod to record me creating the lines of this terracing, and then of course I did some filling in afterwards. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Kingelffe I, who is a YouTuber who did some tutorials on how to use the replay mod. I found super helpful. I'll put a link to those in the description. But as you can see, I've finished off my terraced area here. Now obviously I still have a lot left to do on this area. I want to add some trees and decorations and everything like that, but I'm going to do that at a different time because right now I'm just kind of trying to focus on creating this temple of mental health. So what I'm going to do first is I need to build a path down to the water, and then what I've actually decided to do is rather than try to build an island out here in the Mills River and like I would have to make the river considerably wider, I think. I think what I'm going to do is actually create that path down and then create a bridge over to this side, and I'll clear out some trees behind me there, and I'll clear out some space to create that temple. And so I'm going to need to do a bit of resource gathering and removal of trees and things like that. So I'm going to jump right back into a sort of time-lapse mode here, and we'll start building the path and start cleaning out some of these trees, and then I'm going to try and figure out what to do for my bridge. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, so I started my path, and I've got my path done. I'm pretty happy with how it went. Of course, I realized as soon as I got up here that I'd given myself a bit of an issue, which was, which doorway does this path center on? There's two, and then I've got a waterfall in the middle, so it wasn't going to be in the middle. But I realized I've got my iron golem farm over on this side. Hang on, let's just go over here. I've got my iron golem farm on this side. It's underground. You can see one of the golems spawning in there, and there's some pandas waiting for their space up in my temple there. So I think I'm going to build a structure around here to cover this and sort of build it up and create some interest in this corner. So I think I would actually like a path to come out sort of centered on this doorway here, that would actually lead over toward that structure. So I've decided to make sort of this path centered on this doorway. And I'm going to need to make this transition a little bit more natural. And I think I might actually end up creating this path out of stone eventually, or some kind of stone, maybe grading into some dirt as it goes farther away here, just to make it look like sort of a path that's walked, you know, fairly often, but maybe not too often. So I kind of shaped this out, and I'm pretty happy with how this curve comes down here. So then this is where I'm going to start the bridge over onto the other side, but I'm going to go out and clear some trees out from the other side there, just to clear some space and figure out where I'm going to have my bridge land on the other side. So I will see you over there. Well, I finished the bridge. Quite happy with the way it turned out. I kind of like to start off with a blank slate. So I actually did the whole thing just in the stone bricks that I was planning to build in, and then I sort of put the mossy stone brick and some of the mossier elements to make it look a little bit aged, a little bit weathered. And then I really wanted to have it sort of be a lovely transition from my base and be able to have these nice particle effects from the flowers coming down. Oh, there's an Enderman up in that tree over there. Better be careful not to look at him. So I'm really happy the way it turned out. I did want to mention that I do like these new copper bars for these railings. I am just going to let them oxidize a little bit because I think that they are, oh, there he's coming to check out the bridge too. Okay. So I do think that's going to look a little bit nicer. As you can see here, you can see that the first stage of oxidation, I think, is actually going to be a bit of a better look. So I'm going to wait till they've all oxidized, and then I will wax them to get them stuck at that stage of oxidation. Which, speaking of which, I just realized I actually do need to make a honey farm. So that's going to be something I'll do in a future episode because I don't really have a honey farm at the moment. All right, so the next step is, of course, to build my temple of mental health, and I've decided to dedicate this temple to axolotls. So I have my crying panda temple over there, which again, they're not sad pandas. They're just, you know, they're crying with joy. I'm not really sure why they're crying, actually. I just thought it was a cool name. But we're going to have the temple of the amused axolotls. I don't know why I came up with that, but I did. I love axolotls. I find them very relaxing, very happy, very fun to look at. So it seemed like a good idea for something devoted to talking about my mental health. So I cleared out the space for that. I've made some dimensions that I want to work with, but what I realized I want to do is I actually would like to build in a color palette that is similar to the temple over there, but not quite the same. I kind of want to make this look like, oh, hang on, I need to sleep. Just give me 1 second here. All right, let me go sleep. Let me go sleep. Let me go sleep. All right, so I realized that I wanted it to look similar, but not as the same as the Temple of the Crying Panda, because I want this to look, I want it to look almost like it's from a different era. So like the same civilization built it, but a slightly different era. So that's actually why I built the bridge the way that I did, was because I thought it'd be kind of neat to look like it's a bit newer. So it's not as weathered as some of the stuff that I've done, which I'll show you guys the temple a bit later. But I thought it would be neat to make the temple look as if it was built by the same civilization, so similar architectural style, but with slightly different materials. And one thing I've done recently was I went to a tropical, oh, what are they called? Coral reef, that's it. Yeah, coral reef. See, this is how your brain goes when you get old. I went to a coral reef and I harvested a bunch of coral blocks because I really like building with coral blocks. I not like the color coral blocks, but I like to build with the gray coral blocks because I think they actually, the patterns, you can do some really neat stuff with them. So I think I'd actually like to build the temple with that. But I also wanted to add a little bit of color, which is something that my other temple doesn't really have. So it has a bit of tuff and it has a bit of cobbled deep slate and a few like blocks for texturing, but otherwise it's pretty much a very much two-color kind of build. So I want this one to have a little pop of color, and I was actually thinking that dark prismarine would be about perfect. The problem being I don't have any dark prismarine, so I am going to need to go to an ocean monument to get that. All right, I am on my way to an ocean monument that's just over here. I have been here before. I needed a bit of prismarine to make a conduit when I was harvesting coral. So I have been in this ocean monument before, but I haven't cleared it. So I haven't actually fought any of the elder guardians or anything like that. I did make myself a little sort of hidey hole in here. Oh, look at that. I've got a couple of I've got a couple of these guys in that. Sorry, I got completely distracted by these guys. This is hilarious. I'm gonna die. Oh, I got so distracted by them. Oh, thank goodness I have. Thank goodness I had my totem on me. That was so funny. Okay, all right. Let's try that again. I don't like dying when I'm doing this kind of stuff, so I definitely make sure I'm way over prepared. In fact, the very first time that I fought the Ender Dragon, it took me, what, I guess 12 years of playing Minecraft before I actually fought the Ender Dragon, and I was so over prepared. I had so much stuff like netherite armor and everything. I was so dramatically over prepared that it took me about 5 minutes, and I completely, just destroyed the dragon. Not with beds or anything like that, just completely destroyed it. It was pretty funny. All right, I am here and I am going to set my spawn and set up myself a chest with my potions of water breathing, and then I'm going to jump right in. Okay, so I'm in the temple. I've got some lanterns and some dark prismarine here, and I'm going to be making my way down and through. As I mentioned, I haven't actually cleared this temple, so there's lots of guardians and stuff here. So this should be interesting. Okay, you come here, you. I know more will just spawn. Eventually I would like to make an actual prismarine farm. That would be cool. But I have to figure out how to do that. I think actually one of the segments I might do for my channel is the Zhemmie Gets Good, where I actually try to learn some of the mechanics of Minecraft, because I don't really understand some of them very well, like especially redstone. I suck so bad at redstone, and I would like to understand it better. I know I'm never going to be like great at it. Why are there so many of these bloody things in here? I know I'm never going to be great at it or anything, which is totally fine with me. I just want to get better. So yeah, I wouldn't mind some sponges while I was here too. That would be nice if I can find a sponge room, but I haven't even seen an Elder Guardian yet. I actually have this weird thing in this world. I have not had almost any drowned spawning. It is so weird. I cannot figure out why the drowned aren't spawning or what setting I might have. I do have a couple of mods, obviously. I mean, I'm playing mostly vanilla Minecraft, but I do have some mods on that are, I don't know, maybe they're interfering, but I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Hello. So yeah, trying to get nautilus shells, I basically just had to fish them all out when I needed them, which was fine, but kind of annoying. I see, I haven't even been hit with mining fatigue or anything. It's weird. It's usually the Elder Guardian. I don't think there's any Elder Guardians in here. This is weird. Because yeah, this is definitely an Elder Guardian room. None. And up we go. Middle. Okay. There are, oh yeah, I guess there are monsters nearby. Okay. Well, I'm going to call that a successful haul. Okay, I'm back from resource gathering. I went to an ocean monument and killed a whole lot of guardians, and actually pretty much got killed by some guardians as well, but that's okay. That's what happens when you go exploring in Minecraft. Anyways, I came back and now I'm about to start on my Temple of Mental Health, which is going to be in this area here. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to build in some dead coral blocks, and I just thought I'd put behind me, I've been experimenting with some of the gradients that you can make with these blocks. And so this right here is the gradient I've decided on, where it's going from a more coarse to a less coarse grain size basically as you're going up. And I'm going to start with the more coarse at the bottom and go up. There are some other blocks over here, like the gum coral and others that are even more coarse, but I just didn't feel like they fit very well into this gradient, so I might try and use them as decorative blocks elsewhere. But yeah, I'm going to start here and I'm going to start laying out the bases of this and playing around. Now, I have not built this in creative. I have a little bit of an idea in my head of what I want this to look like, but it's going to be a bit of trial and error, so the time lapse for this one might not be terribly clean. You might see a lot of me putting things down, me tearing things up, which I've actually already done a couple of times because I was trying a few little things behind me, but I think I've hit upon an idea I like, so we're going to hit it. And I am done with the outside of my Temple of Mental Health. And through the bridge, and here we go. I've added some final details to the bridge. I actually changed out the lanterns with some sea lanterns, the regular lantern sea lanterns. I've added a couple of copper golem statues just to add a little bit of interest, and then I also added some bits of prismarine on the top there just to tie it in a bit more with this build. But here we are. I have finished the outside at least, and I'm really happy with it. I think I've made a nice mix of the architecture that I had with the Temple of the Crying Panda, my main temple, and brought it in here, but added a bunch of color and prismarine. I've added some copper golems to the ends here as sort of little statues as well. And I think this is a really nice, fun outside for somewhere I'm going to be spending a lot of time. The top isn't really connected to anything at the moment, so up here is kind of going to be, I think I'm going to try and make this a bit of a rooftop garden kind of space. And then inside I have a couple of ideas on the main part, which as I said, I haven't done the inside yet. On this sort of main floor here, I would like to have an area where I can do my check-ins, maybe a couple signs showing what I want to accomplish for each episode. And then up in this space up here, I think I'm actually going to make it an axolotl aquarium that's sort of above me and maybe has a viewing platform I can stand in, somewhere I can stand and relax with the axolotls, and that's why this is the Temple of the Amused Axolotls. Let me just sleep here real quick. And so this is, yeah, so I'm really, really happy with the way this build turned out. I think the dead coral blocks turned out really interestingly. So I used 3 of the coral blocks on the bottom and the other 2 on the top, and I think that difference in gradient actually turned out really nicely. I actually really like the way that the coral on the second level worked out. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with this. So there we have it. That is actually it for me for this episode. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you are in fact watching, I'll say hi to my dad and my best friend and my kids, as I'm sure you're the only ones who are actually watching. But in the meantime, I've been Zhemmie. This has been my midlife crisis, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.